Alright, welcome back to another Shooty Talks About video. Today I'm going to talk about how my room turns into a Dutch oven every fucking summer and every winter. uh, Basically, and this might be my own fault, I do have some black shades up and that probably tracks way too much sunlight in the afternoon and it bakes this room basically. And then in the wintertime, depending on how we're heating our house, all the heat gets trapped in my room. We had a wood stove for the longest time, and there's a wood stove pipe going through the floor of my bedroom. Like, not in the middle, but it's in the middle of the room, offset a bit, and it shoots straight up uh, through up to my ceiling. And it fucking if you're burning wood, this room is stupid hot in the wintertime. Like, no joke, you're literally sweating, and it's like you can go outside and it's -3 out, and it doesn't matter. You're sweating balls in this bedroom. um, so yeah, my room is always a sauna, and it's the fucking worst. Enough of ranting about my sauna. Um, Today we're gonna talk about cowboy game, Red Dead Redemption 2. I'm going to start off by prefacing this video by saying it might be more negative than it should be. I'm fixing my fucking headset. It might be more negative than it needs to be, but I have my opinions and I don't care. So, where do I begin? Well, I'll begin for starters by loosening my belt because it's cutting into my belly. So the I guess I'll begin with the story as always, as if it's ever gonna change. And I'll start with spoiler warnings because uh, I just don't have the time to go and script this to the point where I'm talking about the plot in a vague enough manner that won't give away too much detail, or at least any of the spicy details. So, and I also don't have the time or patience to say jump to this point in the video to avoid spoilers. I'm just gonna say it up front. I don't care enough to do any of that spoiler warning right off the bat. With that out of the way, I'm gonna talk about the actual game now. So, Red Dead 2 is a prequel sequel. It's a disguised prequel. It it takes place before the events of Red Dead 1. So you can actually play this game and then not have the story completely spoiled for you or anything really spoiled for you in Red Dead 1. Um I'm going to like start off by saying I cannot stand most prequels. I can't really think of a prequel that I genuinely like through and through without some kind of caveat to it. It's to me, um, less is more sometimes. Most of the time. Most of the time, if you do not know everything about the story, before the main story happens, or something along those lines, it adds to the world a bit. It makes the world feel bigger. It makes the history feel longer. It makes everything a lot more interesting because you don't know for sure how something happened. So you're left with room to speculate. How did Han Solo get the Millennium Falcon? How did Indiana Jones become a treasure hunter? How did uh, X, Y, and Z basically anything? If anything where you're watching it, playing it, whatever, and there's a story to be had, generally speaking, it's better when you don't have all of the details of what happened before because then everything's just a little bit more mysterious and a little more enjoyable. By the way, I'm just gonna say, I know the Solo movie explains where Han Solo got the Millennium Falcon. I'm just gonna tell you up front, I don't care. I don't acknowledge. I don't acknowledge any Disney Star Wars. I do not care. I give zero fucks about it. So, it's a prequel to Red Dead 1. It's about the gang that John Marston used to be a part of, led by Dutch Vanderlyn. There's and it's a very close knit group of people. They established that very early on, and they even do leave a lot of they do leave a lot of mystery to be had in the past, even more with this game. It's just they kind of answer too many questions that would come up about the past in Red Dead 1, and I don't care for it. I'll get more into that after I go through the plot a little bit, but basically the plot goes like this: is that Dutch and the gang were in Blackwater, and they robbed the bank in Blackwater. It went bad, so they fled into the mountains towards the I'll say the compass northeastern area above Blackwater. Um, Way north, actually. In fact, they go way, way north. The whole clan. They end up in up in the mountains during the wintertime, and there's this big blizzard, so they hunker down in a old abandoned mining town. They talk about how they left the treasure behind, and all of their gang's money behind in Blackwater, to retrieve it at a later date because it's too dangerous to return to Blackwater yet. Spoiler, they don't ever get the treasure back. In fact, I think it's insinuated that the gang's money has been being spent by Dutch the whole time. I think that's kind of like a secret insinuation that they have in the game, is that the gang's money has never actually truly been put to good use or been stored away like Dutch keeps promising. Dutch, the leader of the gang, he's charismatic, he is a thinker, he is a scoundrel, he is a secret scumbag, secretly crazy, secret big time piece of shit. He's able to trick this entire gang into following him basically till their end. The gang basically comprising of titular character John Marston, Arthur Morgan, the one you play as is Arthur Morgan. You play as John Marston at the end of the game. This seems to be like a running theme with the Red Dead games, is you play a different character after you beat the story. I guess it's kind of a spoiler, but I don't care. If you don't know the end of Red Dead 1 by now, you've lived a sheltered life. Anyway, where was I? Okay, yeah. There's Charles. There's Micah, Bill Williamson. What the fuck is his name? Javier Pasquela. There's some Irish guy, some other guy who used to be one of the bad guys, a black guy named Lenny. Hold on, I promise you I played this game. There's a whole gang of people, and they all follow him. Spoiler warning, most of them die, except for a few. Basically, the plot is this whole time... The plot this whole time is like... Dutch Vanderlyn, he's like, okay, we gotta get money so we could do this. And then we can go back and get the Blackwater money. And everyone's like, okay, how do we get the money? We'll go rob this train. They go rob a train. There's barely any money on the train, or there is money on the train, but they can't spend it yet. So, and then they um, do something else that gets the town they're in pissed off, so they have to move to the next town. They move to the next town. Okay, we need more money. How do we get more money, Dutch? Well, this town's got two feuding families, and there's supposedly a treasure in one of their houses. We need to steal that treasure. Okay, we'll play both sides of this feud, and now the whole town's after us again. We have to move. They move again. Okay, we're gonna rob this town or this city so we can get money so we can move on and do a thing. Okay, we'll rob. Oh no, it turns out it was a setup. And now we're stuck in the Caribbean. That is the worst part of this game. At one point, they send you off to Guam, some Caribbean island, and this is like in the 1800s, so this isn't a tropical paradise. This is, you're stuck on a sugar plantation with a bunch of angry people who want to kill each other, and it's the worst part of the game by far. It's straight up like the dumbest dog shit detour the game takes. But finally you get back from Guam, and it's like Dutch is like, okay guys, hear me out, but we need more money. And everyone's like, okay, where do we get the money? We're gonna do this. We killed Cornelius Cornwall. That's not Leviticus Cornwall, actually, that's his name. That's a great name, by the way, Leviticus Cornwall. They kill him. Obviously piss off a lot of people. Okay, we gotta move again, guys. And by then, everyone realizes, I shouldn't say everyone. By then, our core people who are left alive are starting to realize that Dutch is kind of a fucking idiot and kind of out of his mind. Particularly Arthur and John. They both kind of are like, yeah, the Dutch is crazy. We need to get away from him. So basically them trying to leave is what kicks off this whole everything falls apart completely scenario, because when you try to leave, Dutch gets pissed, and then the Pinkertons, who are chasing the gang throughout the entire game, show up, and the game ends with Arthur possibly sacrificing himself so John can get away. John gets away no matter which way you do it. It's just they give you choices throughout the game that are honorable or dishonorable, and depending on the honor level of your Arthur Morgan, it could change the outcome a little bit of how Arthur dies, and that's it. There's actually no there is actually no ending where Arthur comes out of this alive. He dies. He's early on in the game. Arthur beats up a man with tuberculosis and catches his tuberculosis, and so Arthur basically has what I call cancer syndrome, which is your character has a terminal illness and is going to die, a la Cyberpunk, a la Red Dead Redemption 2. I'm sure there's a couple other games on my shelf that I can point to, but I can't think of them off the top of my head. Basically, your character's got a ticking time clock, and he's going to die at the end of the game, no matter what you do. So, that is the overarching plot, the main plot, the main theme of the plot. There's also stuff there with, and they try to do, and I don't know if they executed it well, there's stuff with the Pinkertons chasing the gang down, because they're kind of like this whole remnant of the Old West, and how there's a new era coming to the world, essentially. And I just don't know if they executed that all that well, to be honest. Because that was already a theme in Red Dead 1, and in fact it's kind of the main theme of Red Dead 1, is you have the Old West dying and the new civilized world is rolling in, and they're like, okay guys, Enough with this cowboy bullshit. Time to fucking clean your act up. It's kind of like the main theme of Red Dead 1, and they're kind of pushing it in Red Dead 2 also, a little bit. Not as much, because it's also, this game's mostly about, in my opinion, this game's more about Dutch than it is about Arthur, or any of the other characters. This game is about Dutch going from being a graceful, charismatic leader to being a fucking foaming at the mouth, crazy retard. That's like the best way I can describe it. And I can't tell if I can't entirely tell if it's intended that the idea is that he's been crazy the whole time, or if he has something happened during the game. Because at one point in the game, Dutch, like, they're on a trolley and it goes off the rails and Dutch hits his head. And I don't know if they're trying to hint that that was like the turning point for Dutch, or if Dutch has just always been a fucking scumbag and nobody was wise enough to realize it. It's kind of hard to tell, because like there's hints at, for instance, Dutch is always wearing these like relatively nice suits and stuff, like all the time, while the rest of the gang is kind of wearing rags, and everyone lives in tents and shit. So you could probably like get the idea out of it that maybe Dutch is spending the gang's money behind their backs so he can live more comfortably. But I'm just not 100% certain if that's the case. Uh, and that's like the overall thing. In my opinion, that's where the real story lies, is in Dutch. They kind of do this thing with Arthur where he's a dickhead in the beginning of the game, and then when he finds out he's got tuberculosis and he's dying, he realizes he's been a big piece of shit his whole life and he wants to turn his life around. Actually, it's probably not when he had tuberculosis. I think it's like a little bit before then, when he realizes that Dutch has been a liar. But, in my opinion, it's, more so comes from the story's more about Dutch. Arthur is a completely inconsequential character, in my opinion. Arthur's character is completely meaningless, because in the next game, it's not like his name is ever dropped in Red Dead 1. In Red Dead 1, there's only four characters we know from this game. There's Bill Williamson, Javier Pasquale, Dutch Vanderlyn, and John Marston. Those are the only four characters from this game that make it into the sequel. The rest of them are inconsequential and do not matter in the grand scheme of things, because they don't exist in the next... And this is why I don't like prequels. This whole segue... This is... See, I told you I'd make this... I'd talk more about this. Prequels... The problem with prequels is you're adding on to the story before the story. George Lucas told Star Wars. He told the story of Star Wars, made 3 movies. All of them were well loved and all that, for the most part. I know, like, some people thought Ewoks were annoying and shit, and if only they knew. If only they knew. I'm looking at you, Jar Jar. In fact, actually, I'm supposed to talk about the prequels. Then George was like, we're going to tell more story before these. It's like, okay, well, you see, now you're going to add in things that weren't there beforehand, and now you're going to add a new questions to the original trilogy. Okay? And they're not the good kind of questions either. You see, when you put out the original trilogy and you say a line like the Clone Wars, it's like, oh, what was the Clone Wars? We don't know, but it sounds kind of cool, right? When you say Clone Wars, and you get to imagine in your head what it looks like. And then you get the prequel trilogy, and you get to actually know what the Clone Wars were. And then you realize, oh, this is sort of stupid. Like, what else is there? What was it like being a Jedi before the fall of the Jedi Order? Oh, well, Yoda, he's like this isolationist guy who hides out. I shouldn't say isolationist. That doesn't sound right. He he's a hermit who hides out in the jungle. Obi-Wan's a hermit who hides out in a desert. So maybe Jedi just hide out like in remote locations or something like that. No, it turns out that the Jedi are playing politics on Coruscant, and it's it's like, okay, so that's just stupid. Um, the and you basically you take what was a really good old fashioned good versus evil story, and then you put politics into it, and you make the story gray, and now you can't like any of the characters because everyone's a scumbag. Um, that's not really fun or interesting or cool. And on top of that, you make you add questions like why were if the Jedi could sense this, then how come they couldn't sense Palpatine being a Force user? How come they couldn't? Uh, how come? How come in the Clone Wars show Yoda learned that the how come Yoda learned that the clones were actually meant to kill the Jedi, but then decided, hey, let's not talk about it? Like, like you see, and that's a prequel to the prequel trilogy, or at least Episode 3. So you've added questions to Episode 3 now, and it's like, oh, so we've added stupidity to. Okay, how does this relate to fucking Red Dead 2, Hunter? Okay, Red Dead 2 adds more questions. Okay, like for instance, Sadie Adler. I'm pretty certain. I could be wrong, but pretty sure her and Lenny, not Lenny. Lenny's dead. Charles. I'm pretty sure those two survived the epilogue. I can't remember because it was a while since I finished the epilogue. I didn't finish the epilogue for this review. I got bored. Um, they survived. Why is Sadie and Charles not in Red Dead? I can Google it right now. I'll just Google it. Okay, yeah, and I confirmed it right here. It says here that he fucking survived. He survives. He just leaves, and his fate is uncertain. Okay, him and Sadie Adler are the other two survivors from the game. I forgot to mention earlier. Actually, there's even a couple more than that, but they're not. Those were like characters that were in the background that nobody gave a shit about because they're stupid and pointless. But regardless, Charles and Sadie in particular were kind of close to John, and they kind of like are friends at the end of the game. Like, why in the hell is it that in Red Dead 1, John doesn't like run into or maybe even call upon the Charles or Sadie as backup to take down Bill Dutch and Harvey Javier Pascuala. I'll just call him Pascuala. Why doesn't he call on their backup to take them down? Why doesn't the Pinkerton agents, who didn't used to be Pinkerton agents, they used to be like vague government agents? How come whatever the hell his name is, Mustache Man? How come he didn't fucking bring Sadie and Charles into this? What? I mean, maybe we can assume that he killed those two off screen, but we didn't see him die on screen, so storytelling rules tell us that they're still alive somewhere. Uh, so you get these like questions that start building up. Uh, why isn't it that when John goes back to Blackwater, nobody recognizes him really? Because John was with the gang in Blackwater. I don't think he was at the Blackwater heist. I think they established he was kind of doing his own thing, but still, I'm sure people would recognize that John was hanging out with the gang in Blackwater. So it starts to add these questions that will not get answers because Red Dead was made before Red Dead 2. And so all this does, and all this story serves is to make more questions. So now we have characters who we grew to know and love in the prequel who don't show up in the sequel, but also we have characters who we hate in the sequel who are we're now supposed to like pretend to not know they're scumbags in the prequel. As I said, Dutch, Will, and Harviera are all um, bad guys in the first game, but they are treated like your friends in the first game or in the Red Dead 2. So it's like you already know their fates. You already know they're gonna die. In fact, you're already gonna know Arthur's gonna die. You're already gonna know most of the gang's gonna be dead because the whole uh, point of this story is to tell the backstory of the gang. And the gang, we only know about a core four. So, with your knowledge of Red Dead 1. So, it's like you already know everyone's going to die. So, how do you grow attached to characters you know are going to die in a new story about these characters? It's kind of hard to do that. It's all meaningless in the end. Arthur's arc is meaningless in more ways than one. Although, and again, it's like, and then on top of that, the choices you can make too in the game also kind of don't help that out. So Arthur's like, you're a gang member and shit. Arthur portrays himself to be a scumbag, so obviously you might be tempted to just play a scumbag throughout most of the game. And then suddenly midway through, Arthur wants to change his mind, and it's like, okay, well now I have to play the honorable thief somehow. It just doesn't add up in my head, and it might be me overthinking it, but it's just Arthur is not a. I don't find him to be a likable character. It's he's not, and it's not even necessarily Arthur's fault. I know that sounds weird because he's a fictional character who doesn't exist, but his whole writing is kind of annoying. It's the only way I can describe it in a way that kind of makes any level of sense, and even in my own head, is that his writing is annoying. It's inconsistent. He's an asshole most of the time in the cutscenes, but then like you can do things out of character for him out of the cutscenes, and it's like kind of makes his character feel inconsistent. The best way I can describe this or explain this is that John, who is leaving the life of being a thief and trying to become a farmer in Red Dead 1, at least when you make good decisions in that game, it makes sense, because the idea is John's trying to leave that old life behind, and he's trying to become a better person. In Red Dead 2, up until the point where Arthur decides he wants to be a good guy all of a sudden, making good decisions for him as a character almost makes no sense. And in fact, it almost feels like he should just be a fucking dick who, like, for instance, if you find some woman who needs a ride back to the ranch because her horse is dead, maybe you should leave her behind or some shit. And it's like, I don't feel like the character is very consistent. Dutch is ironically the best written character out of all this, because you could see the madness in him growing a little bit, and the people who follow him slowly but surely realizing it one at a time. At least kind of helps with that. Micah is a big time dog shit character, and I'm glad you get to kill him at the end of the game. I felt bad for the O'Driscoll guy who joins your gang. I wish they would have given him more screen time and more to do with the gang, but he just kind of like shows up and then gets killed. Same with the Irish guy. Same with Lenny. Lenny you get a little more time with, but then they kill him off like almost unceremoniously. Like actually, it's pretty unceremoniously in certain aspects. Like he gets shot while you're escaping town, and most of the gang runs past him except for you. You obviously, like, Arthur stays because he actually kind of was friends with Lenny, so he's like obviously kind of torn that his friend just got killed in front of him. Uh, same goes with same goes with same kind of goes for the Irish guy. When he gets killed, he just gets shot. And actually, I mean, the game kind of they do care about him. They try to bring him back, but then like Dutch, he's like completely apathetical towards the Irish guy's wife. And I felt like there could have probably been more hints laid that she was going to betray the gang, but they didn't really explore that route that much. Um, so yeah, they're everybody sucks and I hate you all. I just don't. This story, I just don't care for. It's as a prequel, it's just needless, stupid and unneeded. I feel like what would have been cooler, a little bit better, is if Red Dead 2 was just about a separate group of people entirely. I mean, they still could have done the gang falls into a downward spiral thing, but I feel like they could have made up a whole new gang. Like Arthur Morgan's a whole new character you play as, and then there's other characters in the gang that basically substitute the ones we have. Because it even makes, like, I feel like it even makes the reunion between Dutch and John in the first game when they first run into each other in that bank in Blackwater. It kind of dampens it for me a little, because it's like these guys run into each other a couple times after or they run into each other already when the epilogue is over. So it's kind of like these two already seen each other, so the whole sting of them reuniting again, it's meaningless, and it just makes the world feel smaller because they keep running into each other. Whereas beforehand, there was no hint that Dutch was around, so and then Dutch shows up at Blackwater, so it's like, okay, now you have to take him down. It's like, why, I'm not a fan of prequels most of the time in general. I know it was like, I mean, it's like, for instance, if I can go back to the Star Wars thing and all that, there's elements of the prequels I like, but I just, there's nothing I can, like, say where I'm like, oh yeah, this is great, solid the whole way through. It's like, no, there's not. There's, like, tons of holes in it. And I can say that about Red Dead 2's story as well. It's just tons of holes, and hard for me to, like, really sit here and say this is a good story, because it kind of isn't. I just feel like I wasted my time when I played the story in this. Now I'll move on to gameplay, which is also going to be full of criticism and holes and stuff. So the Rockstar, don't ever make a simulator ever again, because this was horrible. You know what's fun? Riding a horse really fast from one town to the other. You know what's not fun? Having to maintain that horse. Having to make sure it's well fed and well groomed, so it has tons of stamina and health. That's not really fun at all. What else is not fun? Maintaining guns. It's not fun stopping to oil your gun to make sure it's going to operate at at its peak performance. It's not fun when I have to make sure I eat enough food so I don't run out of stamina and my health will regenerate properly. I can keep going on. It's not fun. It's just it's like, stop with this simulator bullshit. The aiming in this game, it's so yucky. It's like boring. You aim at somebody and it's like, when you aim at somebody at first, depending on if you're standing still or moving, there's this circle around your crosshair, your crosshair dot. Um, what this is basically it's your accuracy. If the circle's tight around the dot in the middle of your screen, then your bullets are gonna hit exactly where you're aiming. If your circle is spread out though, that means your shots are gonna be spread. And this makes combat a royal pain in the ass because you're basically put in a position where you're forced to um, take your time to aim every shot to make sure you're gonna hit your mark. Um, Otherwise, it's like it goes like this: you're either gonna miss a bunch and then reload a gun, which it's gonna take a while to reload because these are not like modern day break action revolvers or with speed loaders or um, your fancy auto guns like the M4 or something like that. These are old fashioned uh, single action, double action revolvers, um, and bolt action rifles, lever action rifles, things of that nature. They have a couple semi-autos in the game, a couple of semi-auto pistols, and um, like a semi-auto shotgun, but they're expensive and they're also harder to obtain ammo for because most of the enemies in this game carry like revolvers and lever actions. So most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time, or bolt actions. Um, Most of the time, you're not going to find ammo for semi-auto guns. You're mostly going to be finding ammo for your uh, other guns, and so you'll have to buy the ammo for the semi-autos, and that's like again not fun. That's just annoying. Having to run to a store and buy ammo, having to run to the store and buy food, having to run to the store to buy hair growth tonic because you want your beard to grow to a ridiculous length. Not fun, not enjoyable, not my cup of tea. Some would say the it's just kind of like I wish they would have stuck with the older Red Dead 2 formula where everything is faster paced and arcade, more like an arcade rather than a simulator. And that's what they went for in this game was a simulator, and it just makes everything an annoyance. The cover system in this game is extremely not good, and here's why, in my opinion. So it's very clear that Red Dead runs on the same engine that Grand Theft Auto runs on. The layout of everything is pretty much the same, bar with the exception of instead of when driving a horse you press R2 to put the pedal to the metal. Instead, you're just kind of tapping X to make your horse go faster. Um, so where was I going with this? Oh yeah. So the whole simulator, the whole cover system, it's based on like Grand Theft Auto, where you press R1 and you hide behind cover. Now, Grand Theft Auto mostly takes place in cityscapes or at least towns with plenty of square cover, like buildings, concrete barriers, dumpsters, stuff like that. Red Dead takes place in the wilderness or old west towns. And so that means your cover is extremely limited. And the little cover you have will not always cover you. It's sometimes just like you'll get like a tree stump that's just barely big enough for you to sit behind or something. And it might not even cover you then because like an enemy might get to an angle where they could see you like right around the rock. So that's one thing that makes this whole thing a pain in the ass. There's also the it like it will lock on sometimes to where you want it to, and then sometimes it will lock you on to the thing next to it, and that will like fuck you. So basically, where I'm getting at with this is that it's a very like janky system, and it's not all that fun to use. So, in my opinion, it's partially because they probably could have probably should have worked on the cover system a little bit more. It would have at least given players a little more fun in the combat, and coupling this again with the whole aiming thing. Like your health can affect your aim. If your character is fucked up, low on health, your aim becomes poor, and that's stupid. Like, yeah, and realistically, that's would probably happen, but in a environment where you're low on health and you need to make every shot count so you don't die, that can be a big pain in the ass because all of a sudden now it's like you have to make yourself vulnerable to carefully place your shot. Um, the hack getting shot off mechanic, while cute, can be annoying a little bit. Because it happens way too often, and I get really annoyed with how many times I have to bend over and pick up my hat. um, it's just the combat's not fun, especially on horseback. They made it dog shit on horseback because guess what? Again, you have to take your time to aim, and that's extremely hard to do when you're riding a horse. When you're riding a horse, you don't have time to sit there and take time to aim. Uh you need to be on the fly, aiming and shooting and stuff. I will concede that uh, the I will concede that the I forgot what I was going to concede. It must not have been that good of a point. Um, I don't know. All I know is that Mileg. I'm not gonna keep that, and I hope to remember to edit that out. Um, so yeah, the combat is just not very fun. Fist fighting especially. Fist fighting is always dog shit in Rockstar games. It's like my least favorite thing to do in a Rockstar game is to fist fight somebody. Um, yeah, like I guess those are my negatives with the gameplay aspects of it. A couple positives I'm gonna say is one, uh very fashionable game. I love the layering of the clothes and stuff. It really like lets you make really cool outfits and stuff for Arthur. The hair especially is kind of fun to play around with. I just wish it wasn't tied to a stupid real quote unquote realistic hair growth system. It's like your character's hair grows after a while, and then you have to go get it cut. But it's like it takes a long time for him to grow your hair out, and if you want to get a specific style, you have to wait a while for the hair to grow out. And that's to me, it's like I would prefer if I could just run into the barber and he magically makes my hair grow with a haircut, with the snap of his fingers. Um, the whole things I do like about the horses are wide variety and customization of like the saddle and even the horse a little bit. I think that's a little fun that you can like, oh yeah, I want my horse's mane to be braided or something like that. Like that's kind of cool. Especially the saddle. I didn't dive into the saddle customization, but there is saddle customization. Gun customization is really cool in this game. It's simple but fun. You can really make your gun stand out and look really nice. Uh, like lots of like you wouldn't think they would be able to pull it off, but because it's a fucking cowboy game, but Rockstar really did make it so you can really personalize your stuff and make it your own, and that's always a good thing. Um, it's just sad that it's stuck in this realm of existing in a game that is trying really hard to be a simulator when it should just be a flat out sandbox. I mean, it's trying to ride the line between sandbox and simulator because there's stuff about this game that's also super sandboxy, but it's like the two don't gel together very well in my opinion. It makes the game not very enjoyable. Um, oh my god, hunting. Can we stop putting hunting in games, or at least forcing me to hunt or fish for that matter? Like, I'm sick of open world games forcing you to hunt and fish. I just don't care. Hunting and fishing in this game, all it really nets you is stuff you could sell to make a little bit of scratch. And I just don't care. I don't fucking care. It's just not. Even like a limited inventory in this game is stupid and annoying. Like, oh, now you can't pick up this extra can of food because you're only allowed to have three of these in your inventory. It's like, but I can have like 20 billion other items in my satchel. Like, why not just not do that? How about why not just let me fucking play my game the way I want to? It's a sandbox game, Rockstar. You're a fucking You guys are sandbox legends. Like, I don't think anybody makes a sandbox better than Rockstar, as far as I'm aware. Maybe Gmod, but fuck me, man. Like, the Rockstar is almost a household name in its own right, and yet these cocksuckers go in and they're like, well, we're gonna make a fucking goddamn cowboy simulator, and you're gonna let. It's like I can't fucking stand it. I just want to play my game. I can't though because I'm too busy fucking brushing my horse, so he doesn't like his health fucking core doesn't go down, and he doesn't fucking just suddenly die all of a sudden. You know, not fun, not enjoyable. Soundtrack is pretty okay in this game. I didn't like it as much as I did in Red Dead 1, but it's a pretty good cowboy soundtrack. Environments look great in this game for the most part. I think they lean too hard into the grime aspect, and I noticed lately, like most of the time, a western comes out and they put like this smear of grime on it, and I kind of wish they would like dial it back just a little bit. Like, yeah, I know if things must have been kind of dirty back then, but I like it's like I doubt they would just let trash pile up all over the fucking yard like this. So I'm sure they would at least like put their pile of trash in the backyard where nobody would notice it or something. Um, um, yeah, but that would be my like criticism of the environments and stuff is a little too much grime. Most of the game is pretty good though when it comes to like environments and stuff like that. Um, and I guess that's all I got to say really is that about any of this is that leans too hard in trying to being a simulator and it should not have been a prequel are my main takeaways from this game. Uh, but I guess that's about all I have to say really is uh yeah, that's it. That's all I got to say about this. Um I don't really know how to end this video. I guess I'll hint my next video will be probably about Sonic Frontiers. So look forward to that. I might also have another uh, Rudy Tooty McShooty coming out finally. I think I've only put one out this year. Might have another one. Might have two this year. Might have two whole Rudy Tooty McShooties in 1 year. Can you fathom that? I doubt it very much. It's hard to make a Rudy Tooty McShooty because um here's why. I can actually explain right here, right now. Most of the time, I do not play with a headset on. I'll only have a headset on if I'm in a party or recording one of these stupid videos. So, oh, real quick, I'm watching the clip while I'm recording this audio. Um, I promise I'll get back to the headset thing. Um, real quick, really shitty that the developers make you lose honor for killing a dog. Okay, let me explain something to you, because in the clip, I don't know if it's going to show up at the same time that I'm recording the audio. It might not even show up in the final clip, but, listen, Rockstar, video game developers, nerds, dog enthusiasts, all alike, stupid libtards, all of you, listen to me very closely. If a dog is attacking me, it's me or the dog. And guess what? It's always going to be me. The answer's always me. I will fucking kill the dog if it's attacking me. So stop trying to treat me like I'm a bad person because I'm going to defend myself against anything that's defending me. Or attacking me, excuse me. I'm talking like Jar Jar now. Um, fucking punishing me for killing a dog that was already going to attack me. Fuck you. Okay, it's not dishonorable to shoot a dog because it was charging at me, Rockstar. Sorry. I don't care if that hurts your feelings. I love doggo feelings. Yeah, I'm sorry, but I do legit real talk here. It's this stupid mentality I see a lot with anything. It's not even just like a dog thing. It's like in general, like they always for some reason like in games will punish you if you like defend yourself for some reason. Like uh maybe you don't have enough charisma when you go into a dialogue section. So you end up having to defend yourself and then the game punishes you for that. It's like I couldn't fucking help it. Someone's like, "Oh my god, you killed him." It's like, "Yeah, well, he wouldn't listen to me." He wouldn't listen to me and he attacked me. I was supposed to... Oh, I'm sorry. I'll let the game over screen roll over next time, guys. Sorry. I should have known better to, than to, defend myself in a fucking situation like this. Um, yeah, not a big fan of that shit, guys. Sorry. It's really annoying. It's not even just like dogs. It's like, you'll fucking, I can almost think of a specific situation in uh, Fallout 3 where you run into some characters and one of them's being a dickhead to this other one, and she's like, "I need your help, stop him," and then you kill the guy because he's attacking her or some shit, and then they're like, "Oh my god, you killed him! I can't believe." I remember now. It's fucking Armada in the fucking Vault 3. She, like, gets super pissed at you if you end up killing, the cop that was, attacking her, I think. I can't remember. I just remember it's, like, it punishes you for doing the right thing. Or something like that. I don't know. I went on too long about that. Anyway, the headset thing. I will make this video as long as I want it to be. The headset thing. I do not wear a headset when I play the game normally, so normally what happens is the mic in my headset will pick up audio from while I'm playing the game, and usually that audio consists of a fan, a YouTube video, and me cussing at the game. Also a little bit of the game audio coming in the mic, and it doesn't sound good when it's layered over the actual gameplay recording. I can mute my mic, but sometimes I forget to do that, so I end up with like a bunch of clips where they don't have audio that I can use. So it's really hard to like make a good Too Darn Shooty Rudy Tooty McShooty video because the audio gets all fucked. Yeah, anyway, that's all I gotta say. I ranted way too long on that. I ranted way too long about the dogs and stuff. So, Sonic Frontiers video, probably another Too Darn Shooty video. Anyway, take care, bye.